What's up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video. So I've done similar series to this before where Kakarot is sent away somewhere or raised by someone different. Surprisingly enough though, this one's probably the most obvious example, and I haven't even touched upon it. Instead of sending Kakarot to Earth or somewhere random, it's not really too unlikely that Bardock might decide to send him right to Raditz, and we'll explain more in a bit why he chooses to do that here. And with Kakarot being sent to Raditz, that would mean he's part of Vegeta's crew. So what would happen if Kakarot was part of Vegeta's crew? In case you couldn't tell, this story is going to be a lot more of an original story than one that follows traditional arcs. So, let's begin discussing. Our story begins with Bardock sending Kakarot away pretty much like normal. And Bardock makes a slightly worse choice here. Sending Kakarot to Earth would be safer, but instead, he goes for the riskier option, sending him right to Raditz. The reason this is riskier is because Frieza will know about the other Saiyans anyways, but Bardock has a way around this. Of course he knows Frieza would probably be suspicious of this, but he thought of that. Kakarot is sent directly to Raditz and joins Vegeta's crew. And he gave Raditz a message. He wanted Kakarot off planet, and told Raditz not to come back to the planet no matter what. Which Raditz already does in canon anyways, he never comes back to the planet. And when Frieza learns that there's another Saiyan there, they could simply just say he's at an age where he's supposed to be sent out. And for his first mission, he's going with his brother Raditz. That should quell any suspicion Frieza had. Besides, Kakarot's really weak Saiyan, so he shouldn't really be too big of a problem in Frieza's eyes. And once Kakarot arrives there, Vegeta doesn't really like this too much. When did they become a daycare? They don't have to babysit Kakarot. It's already bad enough that they have Raditz in their crew because Vegeta kind of sees him as dead weight, and Kakarot's even weaker. Not just because he's young, but because he's weak in general. Vegeta doesn't need more people dragging him down. Nappa doesn't really know how to feel about this either, especially because he's the one basically watching over all the kids here. He just hopes Kakarot's going to be a better version of Raditz, essentially. And as for Raditz, he doesn't really care either. No one really wants Kakarot here. Raditz views Kakarot as kind of weak, and kind of a burden to the group too. Bardock thought this might be the best option because at least he'll be with someone he knows and other Saiyans in general. But nobody actually really wants Kakarot here, at least not at first. Frieza eventually does learn of Kakarot's existence too, and he doesn't really pay Kakarot any mind. His power level is incredibly low, and the story that they gave him checks out too. He is at the age where he's supposed to be sent out, so it makes sense. And what's one more Saiyan, especially with such a low power level? Also, Frieza probably would recognize his hairstyle and think he's related to Bardock somehow, remembering the Saiyan that rebelled against him. But for Kakarot's sake, we'll say that Frieza doesn't really care about that here. First of all, because it could be a coincidence that they have the same hairstyle, since a lot of low-class Saiyans look alike anyways. And even if he is related to that other Saiyan, well, he's seen what Raditz could do, and it's pretty much nothing. Plus, with how weak Kakarot is right now, he doesn't really care. It's not like Bardock could do anything against him anyways either. So if these two are related to Bardock, who cares? They're insignificant to him. And he'll make sure they don't rebel. And think about how Kakarot's feeling here. He's remembering everything. He knows what happened, he knows he was sent off planet, he doesn't lose his memory, and he's around people that are just ignoring him basically. He doesn't really enjoy having to be here, but he knows Planet Vegeta's gone and he has no other choice. He's glad he's at least alive. But it irks him so much that these people are just looking down upon him like that. He knows he's young and he's weak right now, but he'll prove it to them. He'll prove to them that they're wrong. He'll be stronger than any of them. He'll be the strongest Saiyan. Not just that, no. He'll be the strongest thing in existence. And this mindset sticks with Kakarot as he continues to grow up around them. Of course, he slowly does grow stronger. Realizing he's a low-class Saiyan and he's behind everyone, he puts in a lot of hard work to train. With Raditz reluctantly working with him to train him up too. Kakarot still holds a grudge because Raditz basically ignored him for a bit too, but at least he and Raditz kind of share something in common. He knows Raditz is only trying to help him now because the two of them were looked down upon by the higher class Saiyans. Raditz is basically joining him out of pity. And there definitely is truth to that. But Raditz shares kind of a similar mindset to Kakarot. Especially with Kakarot training so rigorously, he's starting to grow stronger and is slowly catching up to Raditz. Raditz can't let his little brother get ahead of him. So he'll keep him at arm's length. Not only to keep an eye on him, but so he can grow stronger too. And this creates a weird rift between the Saiyans. Yeah, Kakarot is part of Vegeta's crew and they go on missions together all the time. But Vegeta never pays Kakarot any mind. He views Kakarot as a weakling and a burden on the group. Kakarot somewhat sticks with Raditz, but mostly he's on his own. So the Saiyans as a whole, they basically only stick together because they're Saiyans. At least he and Raditz are low-class warriors and brothers, so they have that in common. But otherwise, they basically all just coexist. They might have a common goal at overthrowing Frieza, but it's not really prominent at the moment because they know that's kind of a pipe dream. But as for Frieza himself, he kind of sees an opportunity here. An opportunity to turn the Saiyans against each other. Sure, he could just kill off the Saiyans as is, but their strength is still useful. Especially Vegeta. He's still a relatively strong soldier, and it's good to keep him in check. Besides, he has a constant watch on these Saiyans. Keeping track of 4 Saiyans is easy, especially now with the whole planet gone. But seeing that Kakarot's kind of the runt of the group, Frieza wonders if he could cause a divide between the Saiyans. While he's not too concerned about them at the moment, it'll be good to make the Saiyans lose trust in each other. That way, by manipulating them, there will truly be no threat from the Saiyans. The years grow on by. Vegeta, Raditz, and Kakarot grow up, with the latter two becoming stronger warriors, still not on the level of Vegeta and Nappa, but much stronger than before. And Frieza's taken note of Kakarot's growth too. His motivation for strength has led him to grow pretty fast. He's on Raditz's level now despite being younger. And for the record, Raditz is also relatively stronger too, mainly trying to keep up, but also because he's been training with Kakarot, that does help him grow stronger. The closer the two of them have to a bond is training together. They are brothers, but as Saiyans that doesn't really mean anything to them, especially with how they met each other in the first place. But Raditz is glad that he has an alliance with Kakarot at least. Over these years, Kakarot's grown more and more accustomed to the group, since they've all been sent on missions together. Vegeta and Nappa still look down upon those two Saiyans, especially Kakarot. And this kinda does hold the two of them back. Since Vegeta pretty much views them as dead weight, this means they get to do less on missions and they don't grow as much from the missions. Kakarot's initiative to actually train himself, that's what helps him grow stronger. And Frieza can clearly see this. And he can also clearly see that Raditz and Kakarot are slowly becoming better allies. They're not close yet, but Frieza feels like that might happen soon enough. And he doesn't really want these Saiyans to be too close, because if they are, they could always rise up against him. Not that that would be an issue, but he'd rather have them be loyal soldiers, rather than being loyal to each other. So Frieza butts in, wanting to prevent the Saiyans from banding together. He likes disorder among their few ranks. So he approaches Kakarot one day. He's been keeping an eye on him and he sees that Kakarot's had some great growth. Kakarot can't tell what Frieza wants, but he could tell he wants something. Especially because Frieza's trying to act nice almost. It's clearly a facade because Frieza's not a nice person. But he has a proposition for Kakarot. He'd like him as one of his right-hand men, alongside Zarbon and Dodoria. He doesn't care what kind of class of Saiyan he is. He cares that Kakarot has the right mindset. Now, this is partially true, but really it's just to keep Kakarot separate from the group. He does know Kakarot's the second weakest among them, but he sees potential in Kakarot. And he feels like those other Saiyans might be holding him back, whether accidentally or purposefully. He's trying to plant these seeds in Kakarot's mind, trying to let him know that the other Saiyans don't really care for him. But under Frieza's wing, he'll do a lot better for himself. Kakarot doesn't know what Frieza's trying to gain out of this, but he accepts it. He doesn't really have a choice because it is Frieza after all. And he can grow stronger from this. He is right. The other Saiyans are holding him back. He could be growing a lot stronger if they actually let him shine. And Frieza's glad to hear this. Slowly, he's going to turn Kakarot against the others. Frieza couldn't do this with Vegeta or Nappa because they'd definitely turn against Zarbon and Dodoria, especially Vegeta because he has power that's almost close to them, and if he grows too strong, he's a big flight risk. As for Raditz, he doesn't show the same promise. But as for Kakarot, he's least likely to betray Frieza. He's the one that Frieza finds easiest to manipulate, and the one who has the most promise. This way Frieza will help Kakarot grow stronger, and then he can get rid of the other Saiyans, while also eliminating any threat that Kakarot poses by making him loyal to Frieza. At first, the other Saiyans don't really care that Kakarot's on another squad until they hear what squad he's with. He's with Zarbon and Dodoria of all people, and they're not stupid. That means Frieza had to directly appoint them to that group. He's not on some random squad with weak soldiers, he's with two of the strongest ones in Frieza's ranks. Frieza himself is involved, so they could pretty clearly tell Frieza has some sort of weird plan. He purposefully separated the Saiyans for some reason. They don't know exactly why, but they know there's a reason behind it. Maybe it is their fault though. If Kakarot were more loyal to them, this wouldn't have happened, and they'd rather have Kakarot as an ally than an enemy. Because whether intentional or not, this might turn Kakarot against them. But they're kind of in a tough spot. They need to retrieve Kakarot and get him to be part of their group again. But by doing so, they'd have to act directly against Frieza's orders. They'd have to attack Zarbon and Dodoria's group. Which actually won't be too big of an issue. They just have to get them in a secluded place and then turn Great Ape. And they wouldn't mind rebelling against Frieza. The issue is, once they do it, they can't go back. The three other Saiyans come to a consensus. They've always fought together, but never actually truly fought together. This time, for the first time ever probably, they're truly going to be working alongside each other. Working as an actual team for a common goal. They're going to retrieve Kakarot. This doesn't happen right away either. Kakarot's already been going on missions with Zarbon and Dodoria, and training with them too. Plus, the other Saiyans need to locate him in the first place. And Kakarot is seeing some exceptional growth here. Which is exactly what Frieza wanted. Zarbon and Dodoria actually let him do things on missions. Before, Vegeta and Nappa wouldn't really let him do that. They'd always want to take the opportunity to shine, and they basically gave Kakarot and Raditz busy work, fighting random fodder instead of getting to real fights. But here, Kakarot's getting into real battles. He's doing real training with Zarbon and Dodoria. They're giving him actual guidance too, not because they want to, but because Frieza told them to. And he's growing exceptionally quick, especially with Zenkai's taken into account. And the Saiyans wait for their opportunity to strike. One day this trio is on a planet that's far away. Raditz has been trying to closely listen in, basically stalking them to figure out whatever missions they've been having. And now, it seems like they have their opportunity. After Zarbon's group sets out for that planet, the Saiyans leave not too long after, going to the same destination. They're in a remote area, far away from Frieza but not too far from another base, which is important for later. While Zarbon, Dodoria, and Kakarot are busy on their mission, the Saiyans arrive, first destroying two of the attack balls, leaving one behind for Kakarot. They doubt Zarbon and Dodoria will even be able to escape anyways because they're going to die here. But this is nice insurance. And they know Raditz won't do much in terms of power, so he's the one who throws the artificial moon in the air. Not too far away, Kakarot can see this. Confused as to why that's there because he instantly recognizes what it is. He accidentally turns Grade 8, which isn't bad because he's on a mission right now and this lets him easily destroy the targets that he's fighting. But Zarbon's confused. Did Kakarot throw up an artificial moon? And he says he didn't. He doesn't know what's going on. But over the horizon, they see 3 Grade 8s flying over. Vegeta, Nappa, and Raditz. In base, they had no shot at winning, and they wanted to have a surefire victory here. Sure, they do like fun battles, but in this specific circumstance, they need to fight and end it quickly. And as Grade 8s, this is a pretty easy task. Zarbon and Dodoria are completely eliminated, with Kakarot thinking he's next. Why are the Saiyans here? And Vegeta tells Kakarot directly. He knows Kakarot's a fool, but he can't be that foolish. He has to know there's a reason Frieza separated them, right? And Kakarot does know, but honestly, he's been doing better here. He's grown so much stronger too. He flourishes without the Saiyans. Now, he doesn't necessarily hate them, but they have been holding him back. But he does recognize what Frieza's been trying to do. It's not like he really had a choice though. He had to go along with these two. But he could pretty quickly assume what the Saiyans are trying to do right now. They're trying to get him back by starting a revolt, right? They've been wanting to revolt against Frieza for a while, but that's always been a pipe dream for them. And Kakarot kind of chuckles. This means they're doing it solely to get him back, right? Now they see the value in him. So Nappa asks him what it's going to be. Is he going to join them, or is he going to try to be Frieza's lapdog? And Kakarot says he will join them, but under one condition. The artificial moon dissipates and they all return to their normal forms. He wants Vegeta to fight him. If Vegeta wins, he'll join them. And Vegeta thinks this is ridiculous, but he goes for it anyways. The two begin fighting, and much to Vegeta's surprise, Kakarot actually does really well. Of course, Vegeta wins in the end, but he realized that Kakarot's far stronger than he thought. By now, he's even exceeded Nappa's power. And Kakarot basically just did this to prove a point. He knew he wouldn't win against Vegeta, but he wants him to see the true value of his strength. And he says fine, he'll join them, but he promises them. Soon enough, he'll be the strongest Saiyan of all of them. They'll stop looking down upon him. As someone who's always been looked down upon, he's finally going to prove himself. And what better opportunity than to fight against Frieza? Kakarot sticks out a hand, with Vegeta grabbing and shaking it. For the first time in nearly 2 decades, the Saiyans are actually showing some sort of camaraderie with each other. For once, they're acting like an actual team of sorts. This is where the fun truly begins for them. And they've done exactly what they wanted to. They've successfully retrieved Kakarot. The 4 of them leave this planet to head to another base. They need supplies first, and then they'll head off on their own. Meanwhile, Frieza's waiting for some sort of contact from Zarbon. He hasn't heard from him, Dodoria, or Kakarot. And the mission they were on shouldn't have been too hard. That's why he only sent 3 of them. And he starts to wonder if something went on without him knowing. Out of curiosity, he checks to see where the Saiyans are. And he can't locate them either. No matter what he does, he can't get in contact with either group. And Frieza's able to put 2 and 2 together pretty easily. This is definitely all related, isn't it? Well, it just shows that he was right. He knew the Saiyans probably would have betrayed him all along. Although, he wonders what Kakarot's fate was. Knowing the Saiyans, they probably killed him. Maybe this was a perfect excuse for that. But Frieza needs to figure out what went on first, and he needs to locate the other Saiyans. As the revolt against Frieza begins, this is where we'll leave off for now. What do you guys think about this part, and what's going to happen next time? Leave any thoughts or suggestions in the comments below. I'd love to see what you guys think. As usual, be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps with the channel and lets me know you guys want to see the series continue. Anyways, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.